Hello, hello, hello. Hello, Facebook. Hello, Instagram. Good evening. I am so sorry I'm coming on about 12 minutes late, but give me a moment and I am going to start. Okay. I will be starting in a minute, but whilst I just wait for that minute, enjoy this music. It's just background music, it's nothing to you can dance to it. Okay. Dance to it whilst I kind of make sure that everything is working on the side of Facebook. Oh my gosh. Okay, hello, I am back. I am right back. So, how are you doing today? I hope you're doing really, really well. As for me, I am doing very well. I think I have brought a different book I've brought a different book. This is my planner for this year, but my notes are somewhere and I'm going to get my notes. Okay. So I think I'm going to play this music again whilst I go and get my notes. But stay tuned. I will be back in just a tickle. My notes are right over there and I just don't want to leave you hanging. I just want to get my notes. Give me a moment. Oh, oh. Hello, hello, hello. Good evening. How are you doing today? I hope you are doing well. If you're here, hello, welcome. Hi, Roland. Hello, good evening. I hope your Sunday is going really well. Mine is going amazingly well. Every time I can come on here, I say that my Sunday is going well. That's because Sundays are my favorite days of the week. Sunday is absolutely my favorite day of the week. And the it's even better that I'm here talking with you. And welcome. How are you doing? I hope you're doing well. How are your families? How are you managing the parenting journey? If you're on here and you're a parent, kudos to you. You're doing an amazing job. Okay. There's room for growth, there's room for improvement, but so far so good. You're doing really well. Okay. And I encourage you to keep going. It gets better as the days go by. If you're on here and you're not a parent yet, then this is the time. This is the perfect time for you to be on here. Hello, my sister, Mbappe's Corner. Hello. Please, if you're not following Mbappe's Corner, go and follow her. Sis, you're not late. You're not late at all. You're just on time because I'm just starting. I am the one who was late, and I apologize for, coming late, for starting late. If you do not follow Mbappe's Corner, she talks about really crucial things in the community. She talks about parenting. Sometimes she brings the things that are happening in our community as a Black community to the limelight, things about celebrities, things about, parents, things about children. Last time I watched her on Saturday, she was talking about this baby bath that they give to children. I did not know about it, sis. Honestly, it was the first time me hearing about it. And that was a learning moment for me. So if you do not follow her, go and follow her, please. Okay. Right. Hi, Barbara. Good evening. How are you doing today? I hope you're doing well. If you just joined us, please do share the the stream, because it is by sharing that we want to, or I want to reach as many parents as possible. Okay. I don't have any shame in saying this. I want to reach as many parents as possible. Do I want my page to grow? Yes, I want my page to grow, but I also want to impact the community, our community, the community of parents, be it in Africa, America, wherever, Asia, India, China, everywhere. Okay. I want to impact parents, because parenting is the same everywhere. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter where you are. Whether you're a parent in America, in Asia, in Africa, in Australia, you are a parent. There are certain principles that work for parents, irrespective of where you are. Okay. So you are welcome. Today we're talking about a really important topic to me that it's quite close to my heart, because I'm going to be telling you really personal stories here, okay? Just to make sure that I illustrate, I'll tell you personal stories. I'll share personal stories of my own. Because I really believe in being authentic when I come on these talks, because it is in sharing that we learn, like I was saying about my sister's page, Mbappe's Corner. She shared something on Saturday, and I learned so much from it because I'd never known about it. Okay, let's talk about effective communication with children. Okay, because many parents, even this last week alone, I have had at least 3 parents, or this week. When I say last week, I feel like today is Monday, it's Sunday. This week alone, I have had at least 3 parents who have come into my inbox to tell me my child does not listen to me. I talk and my child does not do what I'm asking them to do. My child is very naughty. My child is very stubborn. These are the words that parents are using, okay, to describe the behaviors that they are seeing. And the children that have been mentioned to me have ranged between the ages of 1 right up to 20. Okay. So you can imagine the age range between 1 and 20. And when I look at all of these situations, and it's the story of every single parent, I am a teacher. I teach in a school, and I teach secondary age school children. Okay. I teach here in the UK. I teach secondary age school children. And if you have ever watched a video of children in a Western country in schools, you would know what stubbornness is. What we call stubborn in Africa is introduction, okay? Because the moment you step your foot into a secondary school class, or even primary, in the UK, in America, we see the same stories where teachers are being disrespected. And when I look at the stories that parents are telling me, I think it is right down to communication. And that communication doesn't start when your child is 5 or 10 or 20. No, it starts when you give birth to that child. So, how do we communicate? Even before I go to how we communicate, there is one thing that every parent has to know. By the way, if you're just joining us, good evening. How are you doing? I hope you're doing really well. We're talking about effective communication with children from a parent's perspective, okay? Everything I do on here is supporting parents, is supporting children, young people. That is what I do. Most of what I do, in fact, 100% of what I post on my platform is about supporting parents. And why do I do that? Because I want parents to raise children who are confident, resilient, and happy. That is the goal for me. I want us to build stronger communities of children who are confident, resilient, and happy. Please, if you do not take anything away from today, know that my absolute dream is to support parents to build confident, resilient, and happy children. Okay. And how can I do that? This is one of the ways in which I do it, by doing these Sunday live shows. Every other Sunday, we have a podcast, and every other Sunday, we have a live show like this. Okay. The podcast, the live shows, it's very difficult to know which one is which, but today is a regular live show. It's not a podcast. When I have a podcast, you will always see a guest. So I use these other Sundays as teaching moments. Okay. Right. Before I go to effective communication, to bear it in mind, you need to know what developmental stage your child is in. Okay. Now, when a child is between 0 and 2 years, just before they hit 2 years old, there are different ways in which you communicate with them. You cannot talk to a 2-year-old like you're talking to a 5-year-old. It's different. Okay. Between 0 and 2, they are still quite nice. Yes. They haven't been, they haven't become the naughty twos and just yet. Okay. So 0 and 2, key here. You need to build a foundation at that stage. You talk to them, you make eye contact, you talk to them about things in their surroundings. That is when you start to input, the kind of traits that you want to build much later. Now, from the ages of 2, you find that your child has suddenly, we call it the naughty twos, okay? In the UK, we call it the naughty twos, because your child has suddenly turned into something that you cannot recognize, even in a movie. You go to the shops, they are crying in the middle of the shops. They are falling down and rolling. Everything you tell them is no. The answer to everything is no. Between the ages of 2 and maybe 4 or 5, the answer is no to everything, even before they think about it. And it makes it such that some parents become really, really frustrated. Okay. And that is when you start to pinch ears. You start to, become, pull out your own hair as a parent because that child is not listening. And then parents say, that's a stubborn child. Okay. Now, from the ages of 5 to 10, that's another milestone there. Okay. That's another developmental stage. Here, the child starts to reason. You can start to negotiate with them. You can start to have a bit more mature conversations with them. Okay. And you can start to, reason with them between the ages of 5 and 10. You can start to reason with them. And then when you go to 11, 10, 11, 12, they are gorgeous. You can reason with them even more. But then they turn 13. Your child turns 13 and it's a complete alien to you. Instead of talking and playing and sweet and reasoning, they start to fight you. They start to argue with you. They argue about every single thing that you tell them. Those are the teenage years, okay? Teenagers use you as their own trial field, their battlefield, their playground. Okay. You, the parent, you are the template for your teenager to build resilience, to build that ability to effectively then become an adult. That is their practice ground. You are their practice ground to becoming an adult. Okay. So after the ages of 18, they are already an adult, and so the communication still is different. Okay. So from the ages of 13 onwards, in those teenage years, you have to make sure that communication, you give them more take up time. Okay. When you say one thing, you have to give them enough time to process it before they do it, and then you praise and reward and all of that. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because if you are communicating with a teenage child as if you're communicating with an adult who is 18 already, that means your expectations are out of place. It is going to frustrate you as the parent. Okay. You are going to be very frustrated if you do not manage your expectations of how you want them to be. Okay. I'm going to pull some of these comments up just so that we can see them. So it is really important that you manage your expectations depending on what developmental stage of growth your child is in. Okay. Baptist Corner, you say, I have 7 years old who have already started arguing with me because he thinks his elder brother, who is 10, knows best and he believes in him more. Absolutely. He is 7 because there is that older sibling in the house. He already is identifying with that older sibling compared to you, the parent. And in some respects, it's great, but in some respects, it's frustrating. And then you, the parent, have to think of how to navigate that situation. So, how do we then have this effective communication? What does it even look like? Effective communication has certain keys that you have to, or certain things that have to be in it. Okay. The first one is listening. Effective communication has to have the act of listening. You have to listen to what they are saying as well as what they are not saying. Unfortunately, sometimes, depending on that age, that developmental age, they are not very forthright with their words. It's a bit like your baby. How do you know that the baby is hungry? The baby doesn't talk. Yes, the baby may cry, but sometimes the baby doesn't even cry, but they are hungry. And you suddenly, innately, you know that you have to feed the child. So the child is communicating even though they are not talking. So as the parent, you have to be in that place. You're best placed to know what the child needs at that point in time. So you're listening to what they are saying as well as what they are not saying. Because sometimes in the teenage years, they will not talk very much. When they come back from school and you ask, how are you today? What do they say? I'm fine. I'm okay. How are you today? Okay, fine. And they give you those monosyllabic words, and that's it. That's it. But innately, you know when they are not fine, even though they are saying fine. So it's about listening, actively listening, looking at body language. It's not just about what they are saying. Look at their body language. Are they slouching? Are their shoulders slouching over like that? It means they've probably had a bad day at school, or they've had something happen at school that has made their confidence to drop. You see that someone is confident when you look at their shoulders here. Okay. Someone doesn't have to tell you that they are confident for you to know that they are confident. Just look at their posture. If they are walking with their shoulders back and down, you know that, okay, everything is fine, even though you may be tired, but everything is fine. If they are walking with their shoulders pulled forward and they're slouching over when it's not their normal posture, then you know that something is happening that might not be right. So, body language is very important. So, I've talked about active listening. The second thing is timing. All communication has to be timed perfectly. Well, there's no such thing as perfect, to be honest, but you have to time it. Now, when I talk about timing, you're probably thinking, don't talk to them when they are tired. Don't talk to people when they are sad, when they are tired, when they are this. That is important. Okay. That is very important. Read the mood before you talk about certain heavy topics. But what I'm really emphasizing here is start early. We leave it too late to start talking to our children. We leave it too late. When I was growing up, babies were just to be held in the hands and passed from one hand to the other. But these days, we have seen that it's important for you to start talking to your baby, even when the baby is still in the womb. Some parents play music to their babies in the womb, and the babies respond. So we realize that even when the baby is not born, you can still communicate with them. And so immediately after birth, you talk to your child, you play with them, you make eye contact. So we need to shift and start this communication earlier. Most of the parents who come to me, unfortunately, leave it too late. And then they come to me when their child is already 10, 15, 20, and they are telling me that this child is so naughty. They begin to listen to what they talk. Why is it that? Because they have left it too late. If you leave it too late, your child already is accustomed to those behaviors. They are already accustomed to whatever it is. And then you want to change the child when they are already much older. And you and I know that it's difficult to change something that someone has been doing time and time and time again. Okay? Then we also have understanding. To communicate with someone, you have to understand them. Understanding does not mean agreement. This is one thing that I bang on a lot to many parents. Understanding does not mean that I agree with you. There are days that my daughter comes home and says, I want to play on the Xbox. It is not Friday. In my household, the rule is no Xbox or gadgets during the week. And so if you come back on a Wednesday and you want to play on the Xbox, she knows. She knows what the rule is. But she wants to try to see if she can get one up on me. And I'm like, no, you cannot. But I understand. And she'll be like, oh, but it's so boring. Yeah, I understand that it can be boring sometimes during the week. But it doesn't mean I agree that you have to play with the Xbox on the Xbox. Go and read a book or do whatever, something else. So understanding is not agreement. Parents, please learn this and know peace. The fact that I understand you does not mean that I agree with what you're doing. Yes, I'm empathizing and understanding from your point of view. Many parents really, really struggle to understand their children. And it does not mean that I'm agreeing. When I'm understanding, it just means that I'm empathizing with you. I'm compassionate. Yes, you might be feeling pained right now, but you still have to do your homework. And that is the one thing that I think parents have an emotional attachment to their children, rightfully so, right? And teachers do not. As a teacher, I don't have any emotional attachment to any child that I teach. And so it's easy for me to detach, stand aside, and look at the child as a separate entity and understand them. And therefore, I can say no without flinching. You know, I watched this video the other day. Honestly, I was cringing as I was watching this video. This child opened the dad's drawer. I don't know if you watched, it's a reel. She opened the dad's drawer in the dad's bedroom and found a condom in there and was asking, what is this? Asking mom, what is this? What do you use it for? And towards the end, I really applauded the mom for answering the questions. But what made me cringe was mom got so uncomfortable that she started pleading with the child to put it back in. Where, please, put it in. Please, please, please. What form of communication is that? Let's talk about the tone here because tone is one of those things. Look, you need to put that back in the cabinet and shut it now. Thank you. End of story. There are no two things. I'm not pleading with you to do what I'm asking you to do. The thing is, your tone has to communicate what you mean. If your tone is not saying it, then you're not saying anything. When you're in pain, do you sit there and just say, oh, my leg really hurts? Oh, I just hit my toe on this table and it really hurts. No, that tone does not convey pain. It doesn't. Right? Let your tone be believable. Sometimes, most of us parents, our children do not believe our tone. If you want to communicate seriousness, let your tone convey that seriousness. If you want to communicate playfulness, let your tone convey playfulness. If you want to communicate anger, let your tone convey anger. As an African parent, I am more prone to shout when I'm angry. Shouting does not convey anger. No, it doesn't. It just means I'm projecting my voice. So you need to practice your seriousness face. Let your tone, let your body language communicate what you're doing, what you mean. And when your body language communicates what you mean, your child is going to listen. That is part of communication, because communication is, it's not just talking. It is the whole of this. It is everything here from my head to my toe. If I want to communicate a connection with my child, what do? I make eye contact with them. For children who are much younger, I come down to their level and I make eye contact with them. Because if a child is much younger and smaller down there, and you're standing up towering over the child, that means you're communicating authority over them. Is that what you want to convey? If that's what you want to convey, by all means, that's fine. However, if you want to convey something else, then make sure that you are taking a tone and a posture that conveys whatever it is that you're communicating. So I have talked about coming down to eye level with the child and making eye contact. And I know that as an African, again, when I was growing up, you do not talk to an adult while looking at them in the face or in the eye. That was seen as rude. But here I'm talking about the adult talking to the child, and you're talking to your child. Remember, the way that you were parented, you don't have to parent your children the same way. Why do I say so? Because times have changed. The way in which we parent changes with time. The principles stay the same. It is the strategies that change. The principles stay the same. Strategies change. By the way, if you've just joined us, I'm really pleased that you're here. Can you please do share the video and welcome other parents in your network so that we can reach as many parents as possible? Tell you what, I'm on a mission. I am on a mission to reach as many parents as possible. So please, I want to grow the page as well as I want to impact the lives of parents. We need children who are resilient. We need to get back to it. We really, really do. Okay, right. Now the next thing is, I've talked about tone, and for my Christian sisters, sometimes Christians can be seen as very flat, very without without substance, very, I don't know how to put it. I don't even know what word to use. Very, very dull, lack passion, just flat. But I tell you what, if you read the Bible, read the book of Colossians, okay? Read the book of Colossians 4, verse 6. It says, "Let your speech always be gracious, seasoned with salt, so that you may know how to answer each other." Let me break this down. Your speech is gracious. That means you talk to people in a way that does not disrespect them. So you do not disrespect your child. And I know that you're probably thinking, well, what does it mean to not disrespect my child and all of that? But you do not talk to your child in a way that breaks down their self-esteem. That means when we were growing up, or when I was growing up, I don't know how old you are, but I'm in my 40s. When I was growing up, the way in which older people or parents spoke to children is completely different from now. In some households, when you were a child, you were, you know, you were just seen as, well, she's just a child, to be seen and not to be heard. So it's completely different. But do not talk to your child in a way that disrespects their person, that puts them down. No say you're fat head so, or you're long ear them, you're long foot. Those are insults that are not necessary. But your speech needs to have salt. What does salt mean? What does salt do? Salt seasons food, it spices up food. So if your speech does not have salt, it will not create the right effect in your children. Okay. That means if you want to pass on seriousness, you better have a serious tone in your pitch, in your voice. Don't be saying please, please when you need to be serious. There's a place for it. There's a place for please and thank you. But there's also a time for I'm in business. I need you to sit down now. Thank you. And let me tell you a trick. Instead of using please at the start of your sentence, use thank you at the end of the sentence and see the difference. When I use that, my children are like, oh, you should say please. I'm like, well, I said thank you. Why are you saying thank you as if I've already done it? I say, yes, because I know you will do it. Try using thank you at the end of the sentence rather than using please at the start of the sentence and see the difference. Come and tell me how it what you find out. Try it. And then the final thing about effective communication is trust. For me to effectively communicate with my child, I need to have, that timing that I talked about? I need to have started building trust with my child a long time ago. Why is it important for me to build that trust? So that when they have those difficult moments, those difficult days, they can always know to run to me. So that when they are going through the motions in their lives, because children have their own problems that they are going to face. They have bullying in school that they may face. They have exam stress that they may face. They have a lot of things that they are facing in schools. And so remember that trust is really, really important to build. And if you do not build that trust, especially in this day and age, your child will trust someone else out there. And imagine your child trusting someone. These days, you don't know. You do not know, and you don't want your child to trust a stranger over trusting you, their parent. So it's really important to build that effective communication. So I've talked about effective communication having, thank you so much, my sister Mbappe's Corner. You've really noted them down in the comments, and that is amazing. For anybody who is who is joining now and is not sure what we're talking about effective communication with children. We're talking about, I'm just mixing in the importance of it. I'm mixing in how, what the effects are if you do not effectively communicate with your child. I'm just mixing this in, but what I'm talking about in general is effective communication and how to build it with your children. Okay, and our sister Mbappe's Corner has graciously written those there. Like I said, for my Bible loving sisters, Colossians 4:6, your speech has to be gracious. Let your speech always be gracious, seasoned with salt. Salt will spice up your speech. That means when you're angry, it needs to come over in your tone. I don't mean you throw fists and shout and raise your voice. No, you don't have to shout. You don't have to insult even. Your speech should not be insulting, but it should pass across the message that you want to pass across. Take, for example, if I say these two things, okay, say I come home, okay? Now, my children know that one of my pet peeves, breadcrumbs. I do not like breadcrumbs, honestly. If I had my way, people eat bread once a week, okay? Yeah, it's 4:6, Colossians 4:6. If I had my way, people will eat bread once a week. And you know, or let me say, if I had my way, everyone will eat and immediately clean around the breadcrumbs. Okay, if I had my way, but I don't have my way, so I'm gonna keep my peace. But I walk into my home, into my kitchen, and this is something that happens on a daily mind. I walk into my kitchen and there are breadcrumbs everywhere on the tabletops, okay, especially around the toaster. And I'm fuming, because that is something that I do not like. The worst is if they are on the floor and you step on it and then it crunches under your slippers. Oh no. Yeah. So if I had my way, there will be no breadcrumbs. But I walk in and there are breadcrumbs everywhere. And I see the breadcrumbs. And then I say, oh, and my children are right there. And I say, oh, why did you guys leave these breadcrumbs here? I'm really not happy about this, you know. Do you think someone heard what I said? Mind you, I've got two teenage sons and I've got a daughter who is 10. Do you think they'll hear me? That is not, no, they did not. That didn't, it went over their heads. It did not register. It did not. Okay. But if I walk into that house, into that kitchen, and I'm like, hey, and so, turn around this way and look at me, please. I need these breadcrumbs cleaned now. Thank you. And then I walk away. Do you think, which one are they going to take seriously? The one that I say, oh, I don't really like these breadcrumbs. Please, please, please clean them up. Or the one that I said, look, I do not like these breadcrumbs. Clean them now. Thank you. And then I go. Which one are they going to take seriously? Your tone, honestly, your tone needs to convey what you are saying. Please do not think that when you use the right tone of voice, you are being disrespectful or you're talking down on your kids. No, you did not say any disrespectful thing. You just said the breadcrumbs were there and you needed it. So use the right tone of voice. Or my daughter is very upset and she comes home crying. Maybe something has happened in school. And and I say something like, stop the crying. What is it with you? You're crying. You're coming home crying. What do you think that's going to do? It's going to make her cry even more. She's going to be even more upset. Rather, she comes home, she's crying, she's very upset. And I say, oh, darling, I see that you're very upset. Come and sit here. Come and sit here. Do you want to talk about it? What happened? If you don't want to talk about it now, sit here. I'll get you some water, you drink, and then you can talk about it when you're ready. So you are changing the way that you're talking depending on what is happening around you. And if you do not learn this skill of changing, if you just talk in a monotone voice, know that you're losing your children by the day. And I know this because I have been in that position. Lucky enough, I picked it up early on when my son, they are now 17 and 14, almost 15. But I picked it up when my second son was just about 4 or so. If I hadn't, I thank God for the day that I realized this thing. I was losing my children because I would just speak to them in the same voice and I wasn't changing the way that I was talking to them depending on the situation. I wasn't even talking because I was bringing them up the way that I was brought up. So I did not know better, so I did not do better. But when I started becoming intentional and learning and then working in schools as well, I realized that there's a difference. And even, let me tell you a story. I used to struggle a lot with behavior management in this country in a school, okay? One of the things that you have to have if you're a teacher out here in the West is thick skin. Okay? You have to have thick skin. But there's one other thing that you have to have. And it's all of these things that I've talked to you about. The ability to use your tone to convey what you want. Otherwise, a teenage girl or boy will run away with your self esteem. They'll make you feel as small as an ant. Okay? They'll make you feel as small as an ant. So I went to a school. I did not know this, what I know now. And they messed me up. Okay? They messed me up. They spoke to me as if I was nothing. Nothing, absolutely nothing. And when I cracked the code, trust me, I walk into a class and I mean business. And One of my students said to me once, "You're not my mom." And I said, "You're so lucky I'm not your mom. Clearly, I'm not your mom. Why would I want to be your mom, anyways? I am not your mother. It is great that I am not your mother. So, whatever happens in your home with your mother is not happening here. So, if I ask you to sit down in my classroom, I expect you to sit down. If you're not sitting, you're standing outside the door of my classroom. You have that choice. It's either you sit or you stand outside." And I say that and I turn around. So the point I'm trying to make is, if you do not change your tone, it does not pass across the message that you want. Imagine if that child tells me, "You're not my mother," and I say, "Oh, please sit down. Sit down, please." What is going to happen? No way. So, what, as a parent, what do I do then moving forward? I hear you ask. So now that you've said all of these things, what do I do moving forward? I've not been doing them, okay? I put my hand up. I've not been doing them. So what do I do moving forward? This is what you can do. You need to acquire the competencies to effectively communicate with your child. And these competencies are these things that I've talked about: the art of listening effectively, listening, the art of active listening not just to respond, but to understand what the child is saying or not saying. Okay, so you need to listen to understand and not just to respond. Sometimes the response is silence, even. And then so you need to understand, you need to acquire these competencies. How do I acquire these competencies? By the willingness to learn and grow. That's it. If you create that shift in your mind, in your mindset, that, look, as a parent, I put up my hand that I've not been doing some of these things or all of them, then the moment you create that shift in your mind, that shift is going to be followed by a willingness to change. And then that change is going to be followed by acquiring those competencies. Where do I acquire those competencies? Google is your friend. YouTube is your friend. Okay? These are the things I've talked about. Now, if you try and you're still unable to do it, then come to me. I support parents. I mentor and I coach parents and children. Okay, come to me, come to my inbox. I may not be able to give you a one-to-one, but I might give you a few tips in my inbox. And if you really really want to move yourself forward and really grow, then you'd have to invest in one of my services, and I can support you through that way. My laptop is nearly discharging, so I'm going to run very soon. Okay, if it just suddenly turns off, then my laptop discharged. So what I'm going to say is, invest in yourself, invest time, invest effort in learning and seeking to grow in this particular area of communication. Trust me, it's going to move your relationship with your children to leaps and bounds. It is. It's not just going to affect your relationship, it's going to affect their academic progress, because a happy home, okay, in one of my videos last week, or one of my reels last week or something like that, when a child is well mentally, the mental wellness of a child informs their academic performance. And that mental wellness of the child is informed by how you communicate with that child. So effective communication is the bedrock of the emotional wellness, emotional and mental wellness of your child. And I know that you love your child. And I know that you want them to grow to become resilient, happy, and confident children. And therefore, you're going to invest that time, effort, and in some cases, finances, to grow this aspect of yours, so that you can impact their emotional well-being, their mental well-being, and their academic success. They're all linked. One doesn't go without the other. Okay? One does not go without the other. They are all linked. Right. That is all I have for you today. I don't want this thing to just cut without me saying a proper goodbye. Please come back next week, Sunday. I have an amazing guest. Honestly, I kid you not. This lady that I have next week, you don't want to miss it for anything in the world. You don't want to miss it for anything in the world. I have an amazing guest on the podcast next week, same time, 7 p.m. UK time, 8 p.m. Cameroon time. I don't know, American time and Canadian time and other countries. But you could find out. You could Google is always your friend. Okay, Google is always your friend. Remember, so you don't want to miss it. Come on Sunday next week at 7 p.m. UK time or 8 p.m. Cameroon time. You will not regret coming. This lady, honestly, she's a powerhouse. Like, I knew her. She has inspired me to become not just a better mother, but a better wife. And becoming a better wife has inspired my children to then see the template for what it means to be a wife, for what it means to be a mom who is happy. Let me not give away too much, okay? You have to come and find out next week. So, in the meantime, keep parenting in the best way possible and keep making sure that you are supporting your children, because happy, resilient, confident children mean that you have invested your time, your effort, and in some cases, your money in them. Okay? I love you all. Stay blessed and see you next Sunday, but see you around. Could you do me a favor? Actually, could you do me a favor? Share this. Share this on your hello Karen. Share this on your page. Invite other parents to follow this page. I cannot stress this enough. Share this page with other parents. Invite other parents to follow this page. Okay. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I love you all. Stay blessed. Bye for now.